The screen is okay?
No, it's not presentation mode.
Yeah, go to presentation mode.
No, it says that I am screen sharing. You see my screen or not?
We see the screen, but you must press the presentation mode button.
What?
Presentation mode.
I can take out the faces. Okay.
No. The face can stay, but there's a button bottom right, like a picture of a screen. If you press that,
What?
go more to the
No,
right.
I did. I did. I thought it. You should see the screen, in my
We
view,
see the screen, yes, but it's
and
not
with the
it's not
slides.
big.
With it, so go take your mouse, go further to the right, go all the way down to the bottom. Right there, where that thing that looks like a screen.
Listen.
So to the right, to the right.
To the right.
Yeah. Where's your cursor? I can't see it now.
Now?
So at the very bottom of the PowerPoint screen.
No, what should I do?
Well, Simon, can you help him?
Yeah, do you see the 63% down at the lower right? Do you see where it says 63%? Leo, did you hear me? Do you see where it says at the bottom where it says 63%?
No, but I think that what I did is I shared the screen. I see on the screen my slides.
I think it's fine. Just go ahead.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah.
So you see the slides or not?
We see. It's fine.
Okay, perfect. So I can start. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to talk in this conference, and I'm going to start immediately. World is unequal. Today, much more than it was some few centuries ago, when there was China was an advanced country, science was flourishing in Persia and Asia, and India, Mali was a great empire. Wait a moment. The change as a root, the Industrial Revolution. Since then, science has been mainly a matter for Europeans and Americans. And it will continue to be like that, with the addition of Asia, if no correction is made. The claim of the existence of a right to science is only a claim. As a matter of fact, too many countries have an economic matrix based on items like internal trade, agriculture, their migrant remittances. Big research structures like CERN don't exist. The only big research infrastructures in the south of the world are in astrophysics and astronomy, also because of specific unique geographical conditions. In Africa, where South Africa has been leader, and recently, in collaboration with Australia, launched its SKA. In Latin America, where in the 40s of last century, Chacaltaya Laboratory was established. There, the pion was discovered, but the Nobel Prizes went to two British scientists. Their local collaborator, Cesar Lattes, became famous, but nothing more. In our region, science must produce results of social and economic impact if one wants that it makes part of the political agenda of the country. This can be done by imitation, reproducing the first world science, and thus training people of whom the best will migrate, or with a change of paradigm through an aggressive policy of scientific development. This was the choice of South Korea, which in a couple of decades increased its income per capita by factor 20. An area in which the inequality is appalling is that of synchrotrons. None in Africa, only one in Latin America. And this, despite the fact that because of their versatility, they are an ideal instrument to face basic needs of our countries: medicine, food security, biodiversity, climate, energy. These are all priority areas for social developments. All of them would benefit. In this framework, two projects are developing, and their synergy, can contribute to their successful realization. Of course, it would be ridiculous if in this conference I tell you the beautiful story of the African late source. Other speakers, leaders in that action, did it much better. Let me instead describe you what happened in Latin America. About at the same time of the first significant date of the African light source, 2015, the idea was proposed independently in different countries. In Mexico, among the main proposers were two speakers of today's session, Brenda Valderrama, then Minister of the State of Morelos, and Victor Del Rio, who prepared a strong feasibility study. Morelos' project did not materialize. It was taken by another state, that of Hidalgo, but there also it could not be implemented, despite having the state offered the land for facility. In Colombia, a visionary colleague, Bernardo Gomez, advocated for a national synchrotron in an article which was published with little circulation in the Colombian Academy of Science Journal. A third attempt took place in Cuba, taking advantage of the atmosphere that followed the famous Obama visit to Cuba in 15 or 16.
I think you have to advance. Can you go one slide further? I think we don't see what you're discussing.
What?
Can you advance the slide? The next one? Are you?
No. When I change the slide, I know.
Okay, go ahead. Maybe I'm
When 2 years ago, another Latin American group presented a regional proposal, the main motivation were not these previous experiences. The idea was that, following the SESAM example, perhaps it could be possible to utilize the dismantled VUV of Campinas and have a second synchrotron in the Greater Caribbean. At that time, I did not know Harry Westphal, but I still remember his enthusiastic support to the idea. A natural evolution of those projects has been the merging in just one project, l'Amistad, Latin America, which takes advantage of the previous experience and profits of its regional character. And this has attracted the interest of SESAME, Sirius, ICTP, the main US and European synchrotrons. A milestone was our participation in the World Science Forum last December in Cape Town. From it, the perspective of synergy with the African project started to materialize. The reason go beyond the fact that both are facing similar structural problems in respective environments. To build and run a synchrotron requires a community of users, the staff operating it, the civil engineers able to build it. We must be frank. In our case, we can only count on the last group. The user community is basically limited to the Mexican one, with the rare cases of young people, a couple in Dominican, or some experienced researchers, a couple in Colombia, who have worked in similar facilities DESI, Electra, CERN. However, SESAME experience shows that this is not a problem. SESAME was established in a region where those human resources did not exist. But a vigorous training program was designed, and when synchrotron starts to operate, it was immediately productive. For this training, we can join with AfLS with the fringe benefits of creating conditions and connections for future South-South operation. Still, and the synergy between our project and AfLS may be much important than that. A synchrotron is an expensive facility. Certainly, user countries must contribute, but in our region, the cost of opportunity cannot be disregarded. External funding may be necessary. Certainly, external support is necessary. It is a delicate political problem to discuss who may provide this support in the current geopolitical situation. In any case, UN system must be an actor. UNESCO played a major role for SESAME. It was understandable. it was the end of the Federico Mayor direction, and the linkage with this flag program, the promotion of culture of peace, was obvious for the Middle East project, in which would participate countries like Turkey and Cyprus, Palestinian Authority, Israel, Iran, Egypt, and Jordan. Fortunately, we cannot use this argument in our region, whereas in Africa, the heritage of the European frontiers still makes it a problem. However, in our case, we have other arguments even stronger. Synchrotrons are useful for almost all the sustainable development goals. It should attract the attention not only of UNESCO, also of FAO for food security, water contamination, soil and agriculture, of UNIDO for development of local industry, of UNDP for social and economical development. And I could continue with agencies for energies and climate. And though it may seem rare, also UNWTO, the tourism organization. A synchrotron and the labs around it are a structure that can promote scientific tourism, and tourism is an area, sorry, I missed the, and tourism is an area in which the interregional contacts between Africa and Caribbean are very intense. For the moment being, let us focus on UNESCO. It is one of our first common goals. UNESCO, with CERN and SLAC, was instrumental for the creation of Sesame. We are pursuing a similar support, and the opportunity exists. In the case of Sesame, SLAC support triggered that of US government. A resolution stating that funding is intended to promote scientific excellence in the Middle East region and prevent the loss of scientific expertise that is holding back science education and research in the region, was introduced by the representative Bill Foster, a Democrat, not Republican, a former Fermilab physicist, by the way, and was approved by the US Congress. It does not belong to me to analyze whether US have reasons of supporting our project and which this support may be. I only assume that they find such reasons in the current geopolitical situation. Then the instrument is on the table. Last July, US rejoined UNESCO, and it was not the first time this happens. However, differently from the previous cases, they are going to contribute with their arrears. Does this create a space for our project? It depends on our governments and their ability of making clear that international cooperation requires that its object be discussed also according to the priorities of the recipients. How far are we with the possibility of having a project of resolution introduced to UNESCO? I'm optimistic. 5 African governments already explicitly support AfLS. Even if no greater Caribbean government have explicitly declared the support to ours, some positive indication exists. Brazil, with Sirius, is supportive. In several countries, we found interest at ministerial government. Australia has supported the realization of a conference in New York, side activity of the recent General Assembly of United Nations. Of course, I imagine that you expect now me providing you more detail about the project, which, where, and when. The synchrotron we envisage must be a 4th-generation one, for the same reason for which in this conference it has been stressed that the African light source must be a 4th-generation synchrotron. Of course, we are considering, just like you, the possibility of compact light sources, exactly for the same reasons given in some previous talk, and with the same caveat. They can be a way to train people for when the synchrotron will be operating. However, it must be clear that they must not be the cheap alternative to an unaffordable dream of the synchrotron. First of all, because it is not true that it is unaffordable. During the pandemic, the Central American Bank of Economic Integration gave the 8 CETA countries, the Central American countries, 400 million each. And do you know what is the amount of military expenditure in the region? In 2021, it was $21 billion. But this is not the main point. Argentinian President Sarmiento, inaugurating in 1878 Cordoba's observatory, said that a civilized country cannot refrain from participating in advanced science. If this happened in our region, our countries would surrender themselves to neocolonialism. Moreover, although compact-like sources can be accompanied the synchrotron under the unique umbrella of a big regional research organization, many reasons suggest that the compact-like source initiative, even if it can be established at national level, be part of a regional collaboration. What about energy? It is still object of discussion. My personal opinion is that probably 1.5 GeV might be a sound choice, cheaper of course, and useful for a range of applications that might be those of greater interest for most countries of the region. Certainly, it sounds appealing to think about a solution similar to Mars 4. Where? Nothing has been decided, and indeed it cannot be decided until we have a definition of governmental commitment. Few ideas. Mexico is still an excellent opportunity to launch this idea, the idea of a big scientific infrastructure. There is the option of Hidalgo, Acapulco reconstruction, even after Otis hurricane destructions, will require a tremendous investment. However, Acapulco is not in the Caribbean. But in the Caribbean, there is a project which is considered a $2,000 billion project, that of a transcontinental railway. Either one could have the synchrotron project as a side part. In Dominican Republic, in February 2021, the president announced an ambitious plan of a city of knowledge. Both countries will have elections in 2024. Therefore, no long-term plans can be easily discussed at that moment, in this moment. In Southern America, the Colombian Caribbean coast developed a lot in the last 2 decades. Higher education infrastructure is an important aspect of that development. The socio-economical impact of a synchrotron may fit with the program of the government which was elected in 2022. Finally, there is the possibility that the country that until now has not participated in our project, Venezuela, may join. Recently, there have been interesting developments in its relation with the United States. This may make possible in the future that Venezuela joins, and this will have an impact on our project. And now this brings me to discuss when. The experience of Sesame and that of AfLS show that we have several years before seeing our project operative. This time must be used to build the scientific community that can make use of it, to convince the civil society that we are not proposing novel apprentice sorcier to build an ivory tower in the desert just to satisfy our curiosity and ambitions. We have to convince the politicians that science is not a secondary chapter of their programs to be mentioned only in their electoral campaign. For this, it may be useful, I would better say it would be necessary, a capillary work of involvement of press and television. However, if we want that our project receive the international attention and support, we must have a strong South alliance. Excellent experience, this we have been living in this conference, but we need more. We must associate the Central Asia project. We must establish a permanent national structure, a permanent coordination structure. Perhaps LAMP can assume this as an additional task. Hopefully, this can be a discussion item if the project of the conference in Brazil at the beginning of next year materializes, and perhaps your 7th conference may be intercontinental. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your talk. I think we're going to need your slides to be uploaded so that we can go back and refer to them. If you send me the slides, I will do the uploading for you.
Which one?
I'll be in contact with you to get copies of your slides.
Okay.
Go up, but if you're scrolling all the way down, go all the way down. Oh, right, this is the one I'm looking for, the tourism. That is interesting because related to that is just visas, getting visas. But with regard to air connectivity, you know, there are, in terms of air traffic, there are places in Africa that are closer to Europe than they are to each other.
Yes, yes. But, you know, this is taken by the discussions had between the Minister of Tourism of Jamaica and the African organizers of that event. So they were advocating for more air connectivity. It was just a citation.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions for the speaker?
I think we've got a little bit of time, so
yeah.
I just wanted to say that Africa and the Greater Caribbean are very, very committed to work together and find more ways of working together. And after listening to the talk, I could see, you know, very strong connections and our shared history, and shared in the sense of what that history is, even if we didn't have it together. So I think it's extremely important that we are partnered, and that's a very big presence of our colleagues from the Greater Caribbean and Latin America here today. Thank you very much for your talk, and thank you for your presence here. And I think we will continue with this. I know we already have a shared membership in the committees that are promoting and driving the roadmap forwards. So I think there's so many similar things. So it would be great if we can help each other on that journey.
Yes, sure. No, I would like to make just one comment that really I was surprised of the interest this idea has, for example, in countries which are out of our region, like Brazil and Australia. So I think that we should be optimistic that the United Nations understands that what we are talking about is not a scientific project. Because one of the difficulties of synchrotrons is that too often, when you talk about synchrotron, people believe that we are talking about physics. And so I would really stress that one of the most important things is that action of reaching the channel of communication, social media, journalists, and so, because one who stress the fact that we are talking about applications which are for socio-economical development.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Leo. Let's move on to the next speaker. Excuse me, which is Victor Del Rio, who is here. Excuse me.
Yes,
who is here.
Thank you.
And if you can share your screen. Yeah, I think you're doing that.
I'll try to share my screen, but I'm not a host yet. I think Galileo has to stop. Okay.
Yeah, Leo, you have to stop sharing your screen.
What should I do?
Leo, is that your screen that I'm looking at?
Well, what should I do? What I'm doing? I'm still screen sharing.
You still are screen sharing?
I don't know what to.
So go down to the bottom where he says that little green button that says share.
Let me do one thing. I do something better.
Here we go. Good. We're all good, Galileo.
I think we are there. Can you see this one?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. Firstly, thank you, Professor Simon Cornell, Lawrence Norris, the African Light Source Executive, and the African Physical Society for the opportunity. Basically, I'm going to try to summarize what my point is, and it has a lot to do with what Leo said at the very end. We've been reflecting about how to persuade politicians, decision makers in our countries to invest in a synchrotron. And a little bit like Leo said, science is not the answer. Science is part of the answer, but it's not the whole answer. We need information, and we need information to demonstrate the economic and social benefits of having this technology in our countries available to our researchers. But in order to do that, we need more. I'm going to explain. Synchrotrons, as you know, they represent a big investment for the world. The world, we have estimated, have spent around $50 million in 30 years to build, operate, and upgrade 50 plus synchrotrons. We have roughly 10,000 plus researchers, users of synchrotron. It's an enormous investment for the world. Yeah. Generally, in Europe in particular, in countries where and United States and Europe, where science has got a value that goes beyond the political lecturing process, they measure the success of this type of technology in terms of the Nobel Prizes that are awarded, the number of academic papers, the contribution to in general terms, to the SDGs of the UN agenda, and the substantial participation of research in research centers and universities, which is fine. From the science point of view, this is a very good way of measuring this. But this is not giving us enough information to persuade the people in our countries that think that science is not really something worth investing in. Historically, something that is not within their own priorities. We need to give them something else. For example, it will be ideal if a group of different synchrotrons come together and make a case study about the contribution of the synchrotron technology to end the COVID-19 pandemic. We do know that synchrotron technology was behind many of the different steps to develop a vaccine. Yeah? From the characterization of the virus to the testing of the different vaccines, etc., etc. But there is nothing written on that. Everything is an anecdotic information because someone has won a Nobel Prize and she used part of the argon synchrotron, or because someone made a characterization in Brookhaven, or because someone made a characterization using the Australian synchrotron. But there is not something that we can work on to demonstrate to the world, to the decision makers of this world, that without a synchrotron, it wouldn't have been impossible to have a vaccine within 18 months that we had in relation to the COVID-19. There is a number of different research conducted in synchrotrons in relation to diabetes, yeah? But it's almost impossible to know how that research is translating into approval by the FDA, the Food and Drugs Administration, in clinical trials about different aspects of the studies of diabetes. There is no linkage. And if we want to get that information, we have to analyze individual research conducted from different synchrotrons in order to have a general idea about what is the contribution of synchrotrons in order to be able to fight an illness that is overwhelming Latin America and that's overwhelming the rest of the world, like diabetes. then we do need information, but that information is not something we have. Yeah? We need information from the synchrotrons, and there are a number of different organizations that are capturing this information, but not for this type of purpose. We need to demonstrate in plain English, reporting the results that are benefiting society, okay, in relation to the research conducted in synchrotrons. Yeah? We have to keep in mind, the people in particular who are running synchrotrons have to keep in mind that the interest to invest large amount of money in this type of technology is wavering. Yeah? Every time we see more growing numbers of science influencers that are questioning the investment in this type of technology and other type of technology. Also, they are questioning because there is not really strong linkages with industry. I was quite surprised that the ESRF is reporting that 30% of the research is linked to industry, which is amazing. The last time I was doing research on this, the highest percentage I got was 20%. Then ESRF has already got 30%. I think is doing a great for the benchmark. Then this is important. We need information that only can come from the synchrotrons, the operating synchrotrons. And in order to do that, we need that LEAPS, the League of European Accelerators, LightSource ORG, the SECASI help us with that one, the Asia Oceania Forum for Synchrotron Radiation, the different organizations aligned to the NSF, the synchrotron facilities, they have to come together and start working with a single purpose. And that single purpose using information is to analyze and produce information that can be used in order to persuade decision makers all around the world, in particular in the greater Caribbean region, and in particular in Africa, that investing in this technology is going to help us to solve some of the most important challenges and problems that the world is facing. We need them, okay? We need three things. Users. We need that the users, for example, insert information in their academic papers telling whether they use synchrotron technology, whether they use it directly or indirectly in their research, you know? We also need users that declare whether they use knowledge that was drawn from synchrotron technology, even in those cases where they did not carry out direct research on synchrotrons. We need to identify that because, as we know, we accumulate knowledge. And even if we didn't use a particular technology, many of the outcomes of our research, it comes from, as they said, on the shoulders of others. Okay. Hello? We need industry. We need to request industry to include a section in their annual reports where profit-making, cost reduction, or quality production gains were made as a consequence of research conducted in synchrotrons. I know that there is some things in relation to copyright or patents. Industry not always is quite willing to do that, but in some cases, as long as they mention they are doing that, that is going to help us to bring and to build a case. Yeah? We need also different individual synchrotrons and synchrotrons working as a group, yeah, to start reporting on the SDGs of the UN, producing specific cases that we can use to demonstrate, without a doubt, their contribution to the achievement of the UN Agenda 2030. Okay, this is my main message, and I would like to leave some space for questions if there are any. Hello?
Yep. So, thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions from the speaker? So I think we have time for discussion, because I just got an email from Abel, which indicates that he's gonna have to miss his talk time. But we can discuss now, or we can actually go to Brenda first and then discuss. Why don't we do that?
I don't think it's good to depart too much from the program, because sometimes people attend for a particular speaker. So I think let's try to keep there. And I see Tabitha's hand up.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tabitha. Yeah.
Thank you. So I only got into the last half of your talk. My apologies. But one of the concepts that I heard from you, I think it's fairly new. I hadn't heard it before. Is this idea that of identifying those who derive knowledge from synchrotrons as potential as part of the base of potential users. So how do you imagine that would occur? And are you also including those who from the literature, they find information that they need in the background literature that they're referencing, and then they say, do you want them to also be identified in this category, in this list, or just those who have sent samples over to the synchrotron? That's another separate group. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. There are many ways. For example, in some of the academic papers, they mention the technique, but they don't mention the use of the synchrotron. And as we know, there are many different technologies that may be using the same type of technique, whether you are using an electronic microscope or whatever. But the question here is that we would like them to clearly identify, okay, we were using this facility in X or Y place, or in the keywords, to put keywords of the synchrotron they've been conducting most of the research, or whether they drawn a technique of some information like the characterization of a virus that was identified by other people working on other synchrotron. Yeah, this is very important because at the end of the day, we try to understand what is the value of this technology in the creation of knowledge and the impact it has in order to improve the welfare and the well-being of the people in our societies. It's almost impossible to do that now. I have spent hours and hours and hours identifying how many out of the people who are doing research on diabetes really end up having a clinical trial or have a different step. It's almost impossible to do that. This has to be the responsibility of the synchrotrons, because they are the ones who have to demonstrate their value to society.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the speaker at the moment?
So I think a very difficult thing is auditing the potential and actual users. I think that's a very, very difficult thing. We have not managed to crack that nut.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if you have ideas there. The closest we have to it is asking directors of synchrotrons to tell us, it could be a voluntary question because of protection of personal privacy, but if someone walks through the gate of a synchrotron and they have a passport from any region we're interested in, then they would immediately be asked to register on our website as a user so that we would track them. Otherwise, we keep discovering users. You think you have found them all, but there will be some word of mouth way that you find more and more and more. And then you realize you maybe only scratched the surface of all the users. And having a very, very good, well-audited, clean, up-to-date database, I think is very important when you're wanting to push the case You know, no one wants to build it and then find them selling beam time, begging people to come use it because you don't have enough users.
Okay.
Let me, oh, go ahead.
Well, we'll have time for discussion after Brenda's talk. But let's try to keep on time and go with Brenda starting now. So Brenda, if you can share your screen. and start, I think, Victor, you might, did you stop sharing?
I stopped sharing.
Okay, so Brenda, you can share your screen and start. And you're muted, Brenda, by the way. Hello, Brenda, are you there? Ah, there you are. Okay, yes, Brenda, share your screen and you can start your talk.
Sure. Yeah, my computer was a bit slow today. It's very early in Mexico, by the way.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'll share now. Okay, I think it's done now, right?
Yep. There it is. Yep, looks good.
Fantastic. First of all, thank you, Professor Connell and Professor Violini, for the invitation to be with you today. I will focus on the skills building needed to design, to construct, and to operate a light source. It's often thought that all you need for a synchrotron is a physicist community, and it's far from reality. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Mexican light source didn't come up as in the two opportunities we already had. That is seen first as a scientific facility only for scientists, and that it has to be controlled by physicists. And I think that both concepts are far from reality, and they sometimes preclude the proper rhythm of the project. So I would like to talk about the different teams required for a very, very long project that can be that will need from 7 to 11 years to come out. So in the first stage, day one, what you need is a team for the accelerator design. These guys are physicists, and they have to partner with an existing synchrotron, whether it's a joint venture with different synchrotrons or with a single one. But you need to prepare a team or from 20 to 50 persons, all of them physicists in this stage, that have to partner with another team of physicists and engineers, and they will have to work together for 2 to 4 years in a different location from Africa, perhaps in Europe or China or the United States, whatever you partnered with, and they have to work side by side in the design of the accelerator, all of the different stages from the concept design to the engineering project. So by the end of this time, from 2 to 4 years, this thing will be dissolved. But some of them African people or let's say hired by the African authorities will stay for longer. And those people will be in charge of overseeing the accelerator construction. We're talking about of a team from 5 to 10 persons that will go with engineering and the construction teams from 5 to 7 years. After that, you need a new team for the accelerator operation. That's a team of 20 to 50 persons who will be in charge with the regular operation, for maintenance, and also for the upgrade of the synchrotron. So in this stage, we are talking pretty much about physicists and engineers in these stages. After that, you need to run a different side track, which is laboratories design. This is also frequent to have physicists, but also very frequent to have electronic engineers and chemists or biologists who will design the different laboratories. Depending on the size of the light source, could be from 10 to 50 laboratories. So you need different teams that will work separately in the design, construction, and installation of the different labs. After that, a few of them will stay in the operation of the different labs. So now you have two crews. At this stage, in the operation stage, you have two different crews. One is the one running the accelerator and doing maintenance and upgrade, and the other crew, which is distributed in the different laboratories. Each laboratory is of high specialty, so you need very, very specific skills for those laboratories. And sometimes these laboratories do their own upgrade. At the same time, you need to train an administration crew for the facility administration. That means from perhaps 10 persons at the beginning to 50 persons at the end. These persons should be in charge of all kinds of administrative issues, from security to water supply, electricity supply, etc. But also, very, very important about how to engage community into this light source activities. It's very important, as Victor just said, that to think of this project not as a project from scientists to scientists, but from scientists for the community. So it's very important to have this engagement and diffusion teams to bring especially young people to the light source, and to keep a very, very strong ties with the surrounding community and with the rest of the academic community, but very, very especially in the surrounding community. This is, let's say, the operative staff, but we need 3 other persons who will be key in this project. One of these persons would be a champion, who is a political leader. You need a champion from day one to make this happen. You need someone with strong beliefs in the project, who has also the connections and dialogue abilities to go to presidents, to prime ministers, to the leaders of the international community, United Nations, OCDE, etc., and to make all the arrangements, the political arrangements to make this happen. Sometimes, and it's very tricky, sometimes the budget for these kinds of projects are annually placed. So it's important to have someone who can go to the parliament to negotiate the budget for the next year. And this is the person who would be in charge. Sometimes could be a former high-level politician, a former prime minister, a former minister, the former leader of a party, someone who is in the political arena. And this leader, this political leader, this champion, should be going along with the project, but without having strong opinions on the project itself. Let's say this person is not skilled to decide how to run an accelerator or how to design a laboratory equipment, but it's more on the political stage. At the same time, you need to identify a project manager, someone who is a very good administrator, because it's a very complex project, but with scientific background, so he can communicate with the scientific crews without further interference. It's common in other synchrotrons, in the story of other synchrotrons, that there are changes in the project because things happen. For instance, you can take some decisions about a piece of equipment, and then it might happen that in 2 to 3 years that company closes. So you need to find another company, or you need to construct them yourself, etc. So there's a lot of scientific decisions to be made that will have a very strong impact on the project administration. So you need a project manager who has the ability to understand the scientific part of the project, but without the administrative skills to have it running softly through the different stages with all the different situations that may come up. Finally, you need a scientific leader. You need scientists, most probably a physicist, who has the not only the knowledge to organize all the different technical and scientific teams, but also the authority to do that. And if you allow me, the person you will find for this position is probably one of your own students who is now at the PhD level or as a postdoc in other synchrotrons, someone who is already familiar with the activity, because this person is key to the project. The champion and the project manager could be shifted at some point of the project, but not the scientific leader. It must be a young person who is in the late 30s, early 40s, who can run the project for at least 10 to 15 years until it's settled down. Finally, you need to build a users community. Users community are very interesting to create because it can be started way before starting the light source project. But you have to be very careful, and you have to have a very wide discussions, because it might happen, like in Mexico, that we have a biased community to 1 or 2 different areas. We are not widespread, and we are not actually working on increase the diversity of the skills of the users community. So it is a very good time for you to start discussing what kind of science do you want to be done in the synchrotron, in the light source, and how to start right now training these potential users for having the most of your investment. That would be my presentation, so I'm available for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is actually a very interesting talk in terms of just conceptualizing, critical pathways to get to the objective. I mean, it's a management problem just as much as it's engineering and scientific problem. I think Abel is here, and why don't we hear his talk? And then I think we'll have time for discussion after that. Did I calculate everything correctly?
You see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start, because I'm teaching in 30 minutes, so I need to.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Start.
Running on time. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for, this organizing committee for inviting me to give this talk. So actually, it is not about the construction of the synchrotron, it's the use of synchrotron in terms of macromolecular crystallography. So the title of my talk, as you can see, will be focused on showing you just a very specific problem and what we can do with the future of the synchrotron in terms of potential drug discovery. You know, in particular case, the human transferrins are very important proteins because they are in charge of the transport of iron into the brain, and you will see, you know, what's happening actually. So if you can see, so we have just actually the possibility to have at the moment we have 6 possibilities to get the structure of biomacromolecular systems. So if you have crystals, you can go through X-ray diffraction, either in powder or in single crystal mode. And then if you don't have crystals, so you can go through solution by nuclear magnetic resonance. The problem will be the size, the molecular weight of the protein you are investigating or the macromolecular system. So below 100 kilodaltons, you can go through this technique. By higher to this molecular weight will be extremely complicated. Even you can have 2D spectra of the magnetic resonance, but the solution of those will be extremely complicated. So the third possibility is just by modeling. There is a lot of information into the databases. So for proteins, we have the protein data bank. But recently, you know, thanks to the development in 2021 of AlphaFold, we can just even predict the structure of most of the human proteins. But doesn't mean that the AlphaFold will predict in a high precision the structure of the proteins, the human proteins, but you can get an approach and then use the complementary techniques like the fifth one, I'm going to tell you, the SACs, to create, you know, the structure by ab initio methods or computational methods and fix it into the data of the SAC, and then just get the proper modeling for this structure. The fourth possibility is just nowadays is a kind of fashion to get the structure of big macromolecular complexes. This is by cryo-electron microscopy. And even, you know, nowadays it's even much better at the synchrotron facilities. You cannot go through cryo-EM, but also you can go by cryo-electron tomography, which is a very extraordinary technique to get the structure as well by these microscopic techniques, sorry. So, and then the fifth one is just the SACs, the small angle X-ray diffraction. This technique allows you to just to create the envelope of the protein or even any biological macromolecule. And just by having the envelope, you can do, or you can run experiments at the synchrotron facilities in solution, but even changing different pHs, temperatures, or whatever. So in terms of getting information about the kinetics of the mechanisms of the reaction, biological reaction, you can get a lot of information from SACs. And even the structure of the SACs is quite complementary. It's quite reliable compared to the X-ray diffraction by single crystal mode. And the last one, as you can see, well, we wish and we hope that we could have just much more X-field facilities, free electron laser facilities all over the world, but this is completely difficult because of the cost, as probably Dr. Brenda Valderrama has talked about it a little bit. So in terms of, you know, of drug design, how long does it take? You know, as you can see, you know, the industry, I mean, the pharmaceutical industry is taking long time to develop a drug because it takes about 12 years, as you can see here. So let me just put the laser. So you can see it takes about 12 years to get the final approval and launch of the drug, investing around $1,000 million. So it takes like long time. There are different stages to pass through to get the final result. But in terms of getting, you know, the proper drug, you need just to get into the very, very complete databases, get a lot of tools based on the structure, just a database of ligands and systems, and a lot of information about bioinformatics in terms of getting information from genes, etc. So nowadays there are two possibilities to get the design of any drug actually. So you have just the target, and then what is done actually is just to screen a lot of small molecules, and then you can just actually introduce the little molecule inside, or any of the molecules you are testing can be fixed exactly in the proper site. And then through getting this, you can just even improve the structure by using this model. For instance, so probably one of the molecules would be introduced inside the enzyme or inside the protein as a tentative potential drug inside. So you can see it can fix properly the spaces. But on the other hand, you can see the others still can be even much better, or probably smaller molecules we can be perfectly fixed in there. So in this case, we have two possibilities. Go through the rule of 5, as you can see on the right side. So there are some requirements to get these drugs. So you can, let me check here. So you can see, you go through the rule of 5. So the molecular mass should be below 500 molecular weight. The lipophilicity expressed as the octanol water distribution coefficient log P is less than 5. The substance has less than 5 hydrogen bonds donors groups, and the substance has less than 10 hydrogen bond acceptor groups. And on the other hand, you can go through the rule of 3, which is just the complementary, smaller molecules as in the right side in here. But after having this, you can just even, let me just go through the next. So what we are looking for is exactly the right drug, which is chemically compatible and stereochemically compatible with my protein or with my enzyme. So allow me just to use just my remaining time to show you one of the most exciting examples we do have in my lab, which is just using human transferins as a new trend for biomedical sciences and drugs design against brain cancer and Alzheimer's disease. So transferins are used nowadays in a new technology which is called Trojan's horse strategy, which is just remaining about the story of the Homero described in his book. So why human transferins are very useful as a potential drug transporter. So you can see, transferins are these two little red spots. So this is the holotransferrin. So what is happening? So we have the receptor of the transferins. The receptor is taken by this receptor, put in here. So the pH outside the cell, this is the endosome. So you outside the cell in the bloodstream, we have a pH 7.4. So the receptor is taking the holotransferrin. The transferrin contains the 2 ions, which will be transported into the bloodstream to the brain. And then the endosome takes the transferrin with this molecule, the receptor, and then the protein is internalized into the cell. It is transported into the brain, through the brain, and then into the brain, there are a kind of hydrogen pumps, and the pH is changed at 5.6, and then the iron is released at this pH because the structure is open, as you can see in the right side. So at pH 7, the protein is globular. At pH 5.6 into the brain, the structure is open, and it allows the release of iron into the brain. And then the protein, again, the receptor is taking the apotransferrin inside. The endosome is just transported into the bloodstream again. and this is a perfect recyclable system. So what is human transferrin? Human transferrin is a glycoprotein of about 80 kilodaltons molecular weight that transits the blood plasma, whose function is to transport iron, as I described. And then this is a monomeric 80 kilodaltons protein. And there are two sites of bonding for interdomain metals. So actually it contains two irons. So the function is it supplies to the brain the iron. So allow me to say that we have been traveling to different synchrotrons, and after collecting about 100 crystals of this protein, even having beautiful crystals like this by using the classical macromolecular X-ray crystallography, we succeeded in only one of the synchrotrons in getting, well, probably in one of the crystals. So we succeeded in getting a lovely diffraction, but not in a high resolution. For instance, in our house X-ray diffraction facility, the resolution was not very high. It was just 3.6, 3.5 angstrom resolution. It allowed us just to prepare the first model. But at the synchrotron facility, actually in SLAC and RL in Stanford, California, we got one of the best results just to get the model, the proper model, at around 3 angstrom resolution. So the protein, the structure was orthorhombic. But as you can see, it's quite complicated because even at this resolution, it's not really feasible to see the ligand inside because it's not very high resolution. The appropriate resolution could be 1.5, 1 angstrom resolution to get precise resolution in terms of drug design. But anyhow, so we collected this data using different crystals. So actually, after having these results, we have been testing about 75 crystals. It had been complicated to get the structure, but even as you can see, if we predict the structure by AlphaFold, it was given by Jose Antonio Gaviria in Spain. So even the structure is more or less approximate compared to the crystallographic structure, but I mean, the crystallographic structure is the most reliable in terms of drug design. So, and then trying to get a high resolution and get much more appropriate results, we just use different crystallization techniques. This is called counter diffusion techniques. It consisted in just introducing the protein with agarose gel in here. So by mixing this, and once you have the gel part already formed, so you add the crystallizing agent or the precipitating agent, it goes through the gel, and along the capillary, you can get amorphous precipitation in the upper part because of the high concentration of the precipitant. When you go through the capillary to the down part, you can see there are some crystals because you have less supersaturation conditions. And then in the lower part, when you have the appropriate crystallization conditions, you will get beautiful crystals. But even getting these beautiful crystals, we were not able to get the protein structure in a very extraordinary way, because actually when we were trying to see the structure, we noticed that in the case of the protein with iron, the holoprotein, we observed that one iron was released, during the crystallization process. And finally, we're looking for where the other iron was, but it was impossible. But anyhow, there was a big problem because when we were trying to crystallize the protein at different pHs, it was almost impossible to get all the full story, at different pHs. So we decided to use SACs at the SRF, as the European Synchrotron Radiation Facility. We use the SACs and we use these conditions in the SAC, small angle the X-ray facility. So we collected the data. As you can see, this is part of the collection. And what we discovered, or we were able to obtain was by using this multifox program. After getting this data collection, we were able to get the Kratky plot. So Kratky plot is this one. So it can show you whether the protein is globular if you have this shape, or it is not globular when you have this expanded shape. So at different pHs, you can see we could investigate what was the kinetics of this opening structure when the pH was changed. So, and then by just let me summarize quickly because I have no many time. So you can see, you know, in the upper form when the iron is released, we were able by SACS to see the open structure. You can see this is the open structure. And then by using this multifox, we could just figure out what was happening. So in solution, when the pH is changing, you can see that the structure there, they have, well, in solution, we have different populations of in percentage in different types of opening of the structure. You see up to having, you know, 30% of the full open structure when the iron was released. So it was fantastic, but we were looking for the possibility to obtain the crystallographic structure at different pHs, not only, you know, at pH 7 where the structure is globular, but also at pH 8 or even at pH 5.5. And we succeeded in getting crystals. You can see this was an extraordinary result, but it took for us at least 6 months, 1 year to look for or to find the crystallization conditions to get these crystals at this pH, at the having the open structure. And then when we got the data, so we let me just show you. We got these results. At pH 5.5, the crystallographic structure data is here. So the crystallographic structure is monoclinic. But on the other hand, at pH 7, when the structure is globular, you have orthorhombic group. But you can see both structures are not diffracting in a very high resolution. This is a very quite a challenging problem because this is a glycoprotein and we have a lot of sugars around it. So to crystallize glycoproteins, it's quite complicated. But then we decided just to make a collaboration with a colleague of mine from University of Almeria in Spain. So Professor Dr. Antonio Romarosa gave me just different possibilities of compounds, ligands, which are just, we have been already tested against cancer in the brain. So these molecules were put into the structure of the protein. As you can see by using this technique, we just diffused the ligand into the protein. This is just at pH 7.4. And we noticed just, this is the ligand is actually is yellow. And then the protein crystal turns from transparent to yellow crystal. And we just noticed that probably the ligand was already inside. Just we were extremely happy to get this result. But the experiment, I mean, the theory guides, but the experiment decides. So actually, when we just look at the structure, we saw the three-dimensional structure, we noticed this positive electron density map. We thought that it could be probably the corresponding structure of this ligand, which I already showed you. But unfortunately, the size was not exactly the same. So what we decided is, okay, something is happening, something is attached to the molecule, but what is happening? So actually, this molecule is only one part of this ligand. Seems to be that when the ligand is incorporated into the protein, it is broken. It is broken in different pieces. So only one of the pieces is attached to the structure. Fortunately, this piece was already active against cancer. And then nowadays, allow me just to see in a few minutes I have remaining, by using computational chemistry, using just ab initio methods, we have been just estimating the size of the ligand, and we would like just in a few weeks' time to see whether this is exactly the molecule part of the molecule we are looking for, and this will be already active against a cancer molecule. So allow me just to conclude just with these remarks, to say that the mechanisms for iron release in human transferrin is pH dependent, as I already showed you. And this process involves conformational changes in the protein demonstrated by this extraordinary technique at the synchrotron facilities. This is SACS. And the drug design for human transferrins, most properly called ligands design, was possible just to get using these synchrotron facilities and the existence of different conformations at different pHs, get a lot of possibilities just to get successful results in the near future. And the use of these Trojan horse strategies, as I already showed you, will open a new possibilities to the future of the biomedical sciences. Most of the brain's cancer will have the cure in the future based on this structural data, based on SACs and crystallographic data, but we need just high-resolution structures. And these structures, as I showed you using human transferins, these proteins are very complicated, not only to crystallize, but also to get in a very high resolution in the crystallographic structure. So the ion transport in biological system based on human transferrin has allowed us to demonstrate that biocrystallography has met the medicine of the future. And with these words, I would like to say that this was possible thanks to the people of the synchrotrons who have been helping me for a long time, Dr. Jan Konsik, Peter Schneider, Vivian Stoyanov from the Brookhaven National Lab, Dr. Silvia Rossi from the Synchrotron Slack and SSRL in Stanford, California, Professor Dr. Mayra Cuellar Cruz, who is just my collaborator at the University of Guanajuato involved in this project, Dr. Jose Antonio Gavira from the University of Granada in Spain. I really appreciate very much the help of Mauricio Polentaruti and Nicola Dimitri from the Synchrotron Electra, who has been just taking most of the crystals we have been collecting of this protein. My former, my future PhD student, Camila Campos Camilla, who is just, most of this work is part of the PhD thesis of her. She's going to be graduated in the PhD program in biomedical sciences. And I really appreciate very much the collaboration with my colleague, Dr. Ritan Stilicki from the Institute of Crystallography, CNR from Bari, Italy, who has been doing with me just the SACs investigations and wax experiments and data collection and structural analysis together. And thank you very much. And I really appreciate your kind attention for my talk. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. And sorry for this 2 minutes extra I took. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. How are there any questions for the speaker? I had one question. I wanted to ask about the SMLS, the Society of Mexican Light Source. And I think you're one of the vice presidents?
Yes, I'm one of the, I'm the vice president of this society. Unfortunately, the president, Dr. Mayra Cuellar Cruz, was not available because of academic issues, but I mean, give me her regards to you. And then the Mexican Society of Users, I mean, the Synchrotron Light Society in Mexico is running quite well right now. We have been consolidating our organization, our society in the last 5 years. We have been collecting, as Dr. Brenda Valderrama said, the young people who could be probably the leaders in the near future. And most of the people who are using not only crystallographic macromolecular approaches to the synchrotrons, but also using all techniques of synchrotron facilities, are part of our association in Mexico. And we have been trying to get in touch with most of the people who are involved in this big project in the synchrotron in the Caribbean, the Grand Caribbean synchrotron, but also in South African synchrotron. And sorry about the time. We cannot get just to be with you all the meetings and all the you know, all the discussions and so on, because we don't have time, because we are academicians and sometimes we are teaching and we are involved in commissions and so on, but we are pushing a lot this society to get in touch with you. So, but the organization, the Mexican Society of Synchrotron Light, is just part of your team. And if you really like to get some information or we can just help you in any kind, please feel free to contact me or just to contact Dr. Mayra Cuellar, our president, and we can just collaborate with you at any time or whenever you need something from us. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, we definitely wanted to do that. Do you have a conference like this one, or it's probably in person, coming up in 2024?
Sorry, say it again. I cannot hear you
Do you have a conference coming up in 2024
sorry.
or something?
We hope just we are going to organize this time the international conference in our association is every 2 years. So 2024 will be just the international conference. We hope just to have you here. Most of you are welcome in Mexico, and I have not exactly the dates of the conference, but we will let you know as soon as we finish the final program.
Okay, fantastic. But any other questions for the speaker? Then why don't we thank the speakers of this entire session?
Tabitha Dobbins is just
Tabitha, sorry.
Thank you. I just have two questions, actually. Very nice example on the biological sciences side of things and drug delivery side of things. For the consortium, are the projects much more diverse, or will there be a focus to make a heavy impact in the biological sciences? And then second follow-up question, if I can answer it on advance, if I can ask it on advance, is about cryo-electron microscopy, and are there experts at that technique also part of the consortium? Thank you.
Yeah. So, well, the cryo-EM is much more feasible for big monsters, for, ribosomes and macromolecular complexes. But for small molecules like human transferins or proteins related to this molecular weight, it's quite complicated because, the cryo-EM for small molecules, small molecules means 80 kilodaltons of 50 kilodaltons. It's quite complicated because, the images in the direct space are complicated to interpret and so on. But cryo-EM is much more for bigger proteins. But we have experts in Mexico, but we are not solving the structure right now by using cryo. But there's one colleague of mine who is Nuria Sanchez Push, who is just investigating something about the ribosomes. And the ribosomes are big monsters just to deal with this cryo-EM. And certainly we can say that we have at least one expert in cryo-EM in Mexico who is solving real problems applied to biomedical sciences. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Yes, thank you. Excellent presentation. Just a quick question.
Yes.
To get better resolution, have you used the X-ray free electron laser at Stanford at SLAD?
Well, I wish I could have a project with this XFEL. Unfortunately, to get a project by XFEL with these small proteins, I don't know. It's quite complicated. I never tried because they prefer just big monsters, to deal with. But at the beginning, they were testing life science, which are small molecules, just for fixing the facility. But nowadays, to get an approval of the XFEL facilities probably is not very easy. I will try in the near future just to solve this structure, because actually by the conventional crystallography, I've been unable to get very high resolution by using X-ray crystallographic approaches. But certainly I will try to get the XFEL. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If I might follow on that discussion, it seems that the earlier talk we heard about developing the talent pool for the synchrotron, that some effort could be expended in your student population to dedicate a student towards the XFEL area as well, to kind of develop that expertise for the consortium. Yeah.
So we're trying to get the projects in Swiss-like source. So they are offering just the XFEL facility without big issues. But at the moment we are running with the crystallographic projects in the classical way because our own convenience, because the XFEL training in terms of solving the structure needs a specific training. It takes probably 1-2 years or 4 years to train one student in this, the use of the software. The software for XFEL in terms of resolution of the structure is a little bit different compared to the classical software for classical X-ray crystallographic solution. Yes, Sekasi.
No, I'm sorry.
Sekasi.
I didn't I didn't lower my hand.
Guys, I'm extremely sorry. I would like to keep on with you, but I need to teach. So I need to go to the faculty and complete my duties. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure. Hope to see you in Mexico next year. All of you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Give you a thumbs up. So we've come to the tea break. You think, right? Yes. And Simon, are you here still? I don't. The first talk in the next session,
Yeah, I'm here,
is Harry Westfall, but he got some kind. He had a flight cancellation. Blah blah blah. He can't make it. But I don't know. Did we get in touch with him for a second?
I wrote to him to send a replacement, but I haven't heard. So
yeah, send him a WhatsApp as well. And I mean, he's probably just kind of.
So just to let everyone know, he was scheduled and he was really hoping to be here, but beyond his control, his flight got cancelled and he was desperate to get back. So he took a flight that then overlapped with his session.
Right.
So we missed his talk. It was very sad. We would have loved to heard it. It would fit very nicely in the session. And I think maybe he was in the air and couldn't see our request for an alternate. So we don't actually have a replacement talk.
Right. And then the talk after that is Andre Lousy from Sesame, who I do not see here.
I think it's better we stay on timetable and have a longer tea break.
Yeah, I need a large cup of tea, so let me probably
So Lawrence, we continue
I need
after
a
the
30
tea break.
I need a 30-minute cup of tea.
So Lawrence,
yeah,
you got to continue after the tea break for Sonia. Yeah.
Is she here?
No, she won't make it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But, Lawrence, I want to chat to you a minute.
Do you want? Okay. Right. You want a WhatsApp or what?
We can WhatsApp.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the wonderful contributions. Thank you, the audience. See you after tea.
So we come back at 9:30. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.